Everything changes the moment you're forced to jump in. And in the sneak peek for Foundation Season 3, Episode 9, that's exactly what happens. But the question is, who is being pulled into the fire, and who is about to lose everything? The sneak peek for Episode 9, titled Jumped In, doesn't waste a single moment. To understand its weight, we need to look back at where Episode 8 left us. The story has been moving like a storm, building pressure with every scene, and now it feels like the calm before the strike. Episode 8 ended with impossible choices, alliances breaking, destinies shifting, and the shadow of war growing heavier. The Empire is still fighting to maintain control, but cracks are forming. These cracks aren't just political. They're deeply personal, touching every major character in ways that can no longer be hidden. For Hari Seldon, this storm has always been part of the plan, or at least it was supposed to be. His calculations, his psychohistory, all pointed toward survival through prediction. But Episode 8 made it clear that even Hari can't see everything. His vision of the future is powerful, yes, but it's also flawed. And now, with Episode 9 looming, he faces the kind of chaos that no calculation can contain. Jumped In might very well mean he himself is forced into a situation beyond his control, something we've rarely seen from Hari, that alone raises the stakes to a level we haven't experienced yet. Meanwhile, Gaal continues to carry the weight of destiny, but her journey is shifting. She's no longer just following Hari's path. She's creating her own. In Episode 8, her doubts about leadership and survival began to clash with the pressure of being seen as a prophet. The sneak peek suggests Episode 9 could push her even further into that role, whether she wants it or not. The title Jumped In could mean her initiation into a deeper fight, a test she can't walk away from. And knowing Foundation's style, it won't be a choice, it will be a demand. Then there's Salver. Her arc has always been tied to sacrifice, bravery, and survival. But in Episode 8, her decisions felt heavier than ever. She stands at the crossroads of protecting those she loves and carrying the weight of a much larger destiny. Episode 9's preview hints that Salver may finally be pulled into the kind of battle she has tried to avoid, one that could demand her life. Jumped In might not just be about leadership or politics. It could be about being pushed into the flames of fate, without any way back. Of course, the shadow of the Empire looms larger than ever. Brother Day, Brother Dawn, Brother Dusk, the Cleon dynasty has always been about control. But that control has never been so fragile. In Episode 8, the cracks in their identity and their belief in destiny began to show. The sneak peek for Episode 9 teases that those cracks may shatter into something far worse. The phrase Jumped In could apply to them too. It could be about losing control, about being dragged into a conflict they thought they were above. Imagine an empire forced to confront chaos it can't dominate. That's the kind of turning point this episode is building toward. What makes this setup even more powerful is the tone of the sneak peek itself. It isn't loud. It isn't full of explosive action. Instead, it carries a quiet, sharp tension. Every line of dialogue feels like it has a hidden meaning. Every look between characters carries suspicion, fear, or unspoken truth. That's why this episode feels so dangerous. It isn't about what's happening on the surface, but about the storm brewing underneath. Jumped In doesn't just describe the characters, it describes the audience too. We're about to be thrown into chaos, to choices that cannot be undone. And let's not forget the overall arc of Season 3. This isn't just another episode, it's the 9th. It's a step right before the finale. In every great story, Episode 9 is the moment where everything comes crashing down, where characters are broken before the finale rebuilds or destroys them. This is the setup for the endgame. That's why the writers chose a title as sharp as Jumped In, because this isn't a moment where anyone can stand aside. Not Hari, not Gaal, not Salver, not the Empire. Everyone is being dragged in, whether they're ready or not. So when we ask, what does Jumped In really mean? The answer is simple and terrifying. It means there's no escape. Episode 9 is going to test every character, break alliances, and leave us questioning who will even make it to the finale. And that's why this sneak peek matters so much. It's the warning before the storm. the promise that everything is about to change. The sneak peek for episode 9. Jumped In begins in a way that immediately unsettles the viewer. It doesn't waste time with grand battles or flashy action. Instead, the camera lingers on silence, on the small movements of characters who are clearly weighed down by secrets. And that's where the Brilliance Lies Foundation doesn't need explosions to shake us. It just needs a pause, a glance, a carefully chosen word. And in this preview, every pause feels like the space before a strike, every glance a warning. Of betrayal, every word a dagger waiting to be twisted. The first thing that stands out is the tone of the scene. The lighting is dim but not pitch black. Feels like the calm before dawn. It's a strange quiet that comes when something has already shifted but no one has acknowledged it yet. There's a tension in the air, the kind of atmosphere that tells the audience, this is not a safe place anymore. And it's through this atmosphere that the title Jumped In begins to take shape. The characters are no longer in control. They've already crossed a threshold. It's already been pulled into a conflict that can't be reversed. One of the most striking details in the sneak peek is Hari Seldon's presence. For so long, Hari has been the architect, the man with the plan, the voice of reason inside chaos. But here there's something different. His eyes carry the weight of uncertainty, and his silence speaks louder than his words. He looks less like a prophet, and more like a man staring into the unknown. If the title Jumped In means being forced into a situation you didn't prepare for, then Hari might be the clearest example. He has spent his entire life predicting the future, but now he's standing in a moment where prediction is no longer enough. For the first time, we see the cracks in his confidence. The human beneath the myth. Then the sneak peek cuts to Gaal, and it's impossible to ignore. The shift in her character. In earlier seasons, Gaal was hesitant, almost fragile. Someone caught between the brilliance of her mind and the burden of her destiny. But in this preview, there's steel in her expression. She no longer looks like someone simply following Hari's shadow. Instead, she looks like someone preparing to step into her own power. Yet this doesn't come without fear. Voice carries a tremor, not of weakness, but of awareness. She knows that what's coming cannot be avoided.
I'll be avoided.
Jumped In is a metaphor for initiation, then Gaal is at the heart of it. She is being drawn into leadership, whether she's ready or not. And in her eyes, we see the cost of that transformation. The loss of innocence, the loss of safety, the loss of choice. What's fascinating about this preview is how Salvor's presence contrasts with Gaal's. While Gaal seems to be embracing her role, Salvor looks like she's fighting against it. Her body language is tense, almost defensive, as if she knows she's walking into a trap. Her eyes dart, scanning the room, reading every face, calculating danger. Salvor has always been a fighter, someone willing to throw herself into the fire, to protect others. But here she looks tired, as though every battle has left scars we can't yet see. For Salvor, it's not about being initiated into destiny, it's about being dragged back into a war she desperately wanted to avoid. And this raises the question, how much more can she give before she breaks? The Empire's shadow looms large. Over the sneak peek, the preview shows fragments of Brother Day and his dynasty, and the tension between them is impossible to ignore. For so long, the Cleons have acted as though they are untouchable, perfect copies of a perfect ruler. But that illusion has been cracking, and Episode 9 looks ready to tear it apart. In the sneak peek, their voices are sharp, edged with fear, masked as anger. The way Brother Day carries himself feels different, less confident, more desperate. And that desperation is dangerous.
How?
When a ruler who believes himself divine begins to doubt, the result is chaos. And this chaos may very well be the meaning of Jump In for the Empire. They are being pulled into a collapse of their own making, forced to face a truth they've spent generations denying. They are not gods, and they cannot control destiny. Forever, another layer that cannot be ignored in this preview is the visual symbolism. Foundation has always used imagery to foreshadow events, and Episode 9's sneak peek is no exception. One image stands out: a door, slightly ajar, with light spilling through. It's a simple shot, but it carries weight. Doors in Foundation have often represented thresholds, points of no return. A character stepping through a door often steps into a new destiny, a choice that cannot be undone. Seeing this image so prominently in the sneak peek suggests that Episode 9 is about crossing that threshold, about characters stepping into futures they cannot escape. The title Jumped In suddenly becomes literal. Once you cross that door, you are in. There's no turning back. The dialogue in the sneak peek is equally haunting. Words like choice, sacrifice, and truth echo in the silence. But it's not just what the characters say, it's how they say it. Their voices are low, deliberate, heavy with meaning. It feels like everyone is speaking in code, as though the real conversation is happening beneath the words. This adds another layer to the episode's theme: initiation into secrets. To be jumped in could also mean to be initiated into knowledge, into truths that were never meant to be shared. And once those truths are known, they cannot be unlearned. Perhaps the most chilling part of the sneak peek is the sense of inevitability it carries. Every shot, every word, every silence feels like a countdown. It's as if the episode is screaming at us. Something is coming, and no one can stop it. And that's the power of Foundation at its best. It doesn't need to show us the full picture. It just needs to show us enough to know that the picture exists and that it's darker than we can imagine. Episode 9's sneak peek tells us that we are already too deep, already too committed. We, like the characters, have been jumped in. What's important to understand is that this breakdown isn't just about what we see. It's about what we don't see. The sneak peek is careful to hide certain characters, certain moments. And in Foundation, absence is just as meaningful as presence. Who isn't shown in the preview? Who is missing from the room? Who's being kept hidden until the right moment? These questions are the heartbeat of Episode 9. The writers are daring us to guess, daring us to prepare, all while knowing that no preparation will be enough in the end. The sneak peek for Jumped In is less about revealing and more about warning. It tells us that the story has reached its boiling point, that every character, no matter how powerful or fragile, is about to be forced into a confrontation they cannot escape, and that the audience, too, is part of this initiation. We aren't just watching anymore, we're being pulled into the storm. And once the storm begins, there is no way out. When you strip away the starships, the psychohistory, and the galaxy-spanning battles, Foundation has always been about one thing: people. Human beings with fears, desires, and impossible choices. And in Episode 9, Jumped In, every major character stands at the edge of their own cliff. Their motivations are clearer than ever, but so are their vulnerabilities. And the stakes? They've never been higher. Hari Seldon, the prophet. Facing his limits, Hari Seldon has always been the architect of destiny. From the very beginning, he has been painted as the man who sees the future with terrifying precision. The mind behind psychohistory, the prophet who can map the rise and fall of empires. And in the sneak peek for Episode 9, we see a different side of him, a side that isn't all-knowing, a side that's fragile. His stake is painfully simple: control. Hari has built his entire identity around control through knowledge. Every plan, every simulation, every calculation was meant to ensure that humanity would survive the collapse of the Empire. But in this moment, that control is slipping. Unpredictability of human emotion, betrayal, and free will are all variables that psychohistory cannot fully contain. And Hari knows it. That is what makes his silence in the preview so unnerving, because silence is not natural for him. If he isn't speaking, it's because even he doesn't have the words to explain what's coming. His motivation is survival, not of himself, but of the plan. Hari knows that if he falters, everything collapses, not just his legacy, but the very future of civilization. Yet the irony is crushing. The more he tries to control, the more he sees control slipping away. Episode 9 Jumped In may represent Hari's own initiation into uncertainty. He has been the teacher for so long, the one who guides others into understanding. But now he's the one being forced into a lesson he never wanted. And that lesson is simple. Sometimes even prophets must walk blindly into the fire. Gaal, the reluctant leader, becoming a force if Hari represents knowledge. Then Gaal represents the heart of foundation. She started as a wide-eyed believer, someone caught between faith in Hari's vision and fear of her own future. But across the seasons, she has grown into something far more powerful. And in the sneak peek for episode 9, we see a Gaal who is no longer asking if she should lead, she is asking how she must lead. Her stake is identity. Gaal has always struggled with who she is meant to be. Is she a student, a prophet, a survivor, or a leader? Episode 9 pushes her to stop questioning and start deciding. The title jumped and fits her arc perfectly. She is being initiated into leadership in a way she cannot walk away from. And for Gaal, this isn't just about guiding a handful of people, it's about carrying the hopes of an entire future. That weight is unbearable, but it's hers to bear. Her motivation, however, is more personal than anyone realizes. Deep beneath the prophecy and the responsibility, Gaal's greatest desire is to protect. Protect her people, protect Salvor, protect the fragile possibility of hope. Unlike Hari, who sees the grand picture, Gaal feels the individual lives that hang in the balance. This is both her strength and her weakness. Because while psychohistory deals with probabilities, Gaal deals with faces, names, and emotions. And in episode 9, that emotional leadership may be exactly what sets her apart. If Hari is being dragged into uncertainty, Gaal is being forced to embrace certainty that she must step forward, no matter the cost. Salvor Hardin, the fighter running out of time, Salvor Hardin has always been defined by action. Where others debate and calculate, Salvor moves. She fights. She sacrifices. She bleeds so others don't have to. But in episode 9, we see the exhaustion in her eyes, the weariness of someone who has carried too much for too long. Her stake is survival, personal, emotional, and universal. Salvor has reached a breaking point. The battles she has fought are not just physical, they're battles against fate itself. And the truth is, she's tired of fighting destiny. In the sneak peek, her body language tells the story. She's tense, scanning every detail, calculating every risk. Not because she wants to, but because she doesn't trust the ground she's standing on. Salvor has always been the shield. But what happens when the shield is cracked? What happens when she no longer has the strength to carry the fight? Her motivation is deeply human love. For all her strength and resilience, Salvor is driven by the people she cares about. Whether it's Gaal, her people, or the larger cause. Her choices always come back to connection. That love has made her powerful, but it also makes her vulnerable. In episode 9, Jumped In may represent Salvor being dragged into yet another sacrifice, one she cannot escape. The preview suggests she will face a choice between protecting the people she loves and protecting the larger mission. And for Salvor, that's the cruelest choice of all, because whichever path she takes, something will break. The Empire gods facing their humanity. The Cleon dynasty has been the unshakable constant of Foundation. A line of rulers cloned endlessly, each believing themselves divine, eternal, untouchable. But in episode 9, we see the truth breaking through their godhood is an illusion. Nothing terrifies them more. Their stake is legacy. For centuries, they have ruled by the belief that the Empire is eternal, that the galaxy needs their hand to guide it. But the cracks in their identity are widening. Brother Day, Brother Dawn, Brother Dusk, they are no longer unified. They are no longer certain. The sneak peek reveals them as desperate, angry, and paranoid. And desperation in a ruler is the most dangerous thing of all. Their motivation, however, is fear. Fear of collapse, fear of irrelevance, fear of death. Each Cleon may present himself as calm and commanding, but the truth is clear. They are terrified. Of being replaced? For so long, their motivation was order, the control of humanity through strength. But in Episode 9, their motivation is survival of self. And that shift is catastrophic. Because an empire fighting for survival is an empire willing to burn everything to the ground just to keep the illusion of power alive. The title. Jumped in applies to the Cleons in a particularly ironic way. For centuries, they believed they were. Above the game, they believed they were the ones pulling the strings, the ones orchestrating destiny. But now, they are the ones being dragged into chaos. They are no longer gods watching from above. They are players on the board, and worse, they're losing. And once you're jumped in, there's no stepping out. The Empire has been forced into a battle for survival. And the outcome will change the galaxy forever. The larger tapestry, what makes the stakes and motivations of Episode 9 so compelling is how they weave together. Hari's need for control clashes with Gaal's emotional leadership. Gaal's rise as a leader collides with Salvor's exhaustion, and the Empire's desperation collides with all of them, creating a storm that no calculation, no prophecy, and no army can contain. The characters are not just individuals, they are forces. Hari is the mind, Gaal is the heart, Salvor is the will, and the Empire is the fist. Each force is being tested in Episode 9. Each force is being dragged deeper into the fire. Each force is being jumped in. And the terrifying truth is that not all of them will survive. This is why Episode 9 feels so much like the turning point. Because by the time it ends, every character will be changed. Hari may lose his illusion of control. Gaal may embrace her unwanted leadership. Salvor may make a sacrifice that breaks her. And the Empire may finally face its greatest enemy, not Foundation, not rebels, not outsiders, but itself. That is, the brilliance of this story doesn't just show us characters fighting external battles. It shows us characters fighting the battles within themselves. The fear, the doubt, the desire for meaning. And Episode 9 promises to strip them bare, forcing each one to confront who they truly are. Because once you're jumped in, you can't go back. You can't hide. You can't pretend. You can only fight or fall. The genius of Foundation lies not in what it shouts at us, but in what it whispers. Every scene is layered, every shot intentional, every silence loaded with meaning. The sneak peek for Episode 9, Jumped In, is no exception. On the surface, it feels quiet characters talking, glances exchanged, pauses filled with tension. But beneath that surface lies a storm of hidden clues, subtle foreshadowing, and narrative traps waiting to snap shut. Let's peel back those layers, because this preview is telling us far more than it wants us to notice. The language of silence, the first clue isn't visual, it's auditory. Rather, it's the lack of sound. The sneak peek is dominated by pauses, by long silences that stretch just a little too far. Foundation has always used silence as a weapon. It's in Episode 9's preview that silence becomes suffocating. Why? Because silence means restraint. Characters are holding back truths, holding back emotions, holding back the very words that could change everything. When Hari Seldon stares into the distance without speaking, that isn't hesitation, it's foreshadowing. It tells us he knows something is coming, something he can't put into words because the truth would unravel everything too soon. Silence in Foundation is never empty. It's a warning. Hari's flicker of doubt. Look closely at Hari's expression. In the preview, his eyes shift, not the confident gaze of a prophet, but the distracted glance of a man wrestling with doubt. This is subtle but crucial. Hari has built his life on certainty, on numbers, on predictions. But the sneak peek shows us that for the first time, even Hari isn't sure. That flicker of doubt isn't just character development, it's foreshadowing. It tells us that his psychohistory, his grand plan, may finally meet its limit in Episode 9. The clue here is simple. If the architect doubts his blueprint, then the house is already collapsing. And that collapse may be the driving force of the finale. Gaal's shadowed position when the camera lingers on Gaal Dornick. Notice the way the light falls on her. Half of her face is illuminated, the other half hidden in shadow. This isn't random cinematography, it's deliberate. Foundation has always used lighting to symbolize inner conflict. Gaal's half-shadowed face tells us she is standing between two worlds, the world of prophecy and the world of choice. The world of Hari's plan and the world of her own free will. This visual clue foreshadows a decision in episode 9 that could define the entire finale. She stepped fully into the light, accepting leadership and destiny, or remain in the shadows, doubting herself. The sneak peek is warning us. Gaal's decision will not only define her, but possibly decide the fate of the Foundation itself. Salvor's restless movements, Salvor's presence in the sneak peek is charged with unease. She doesn't sit still, doesn't relax, doesn't trust the room. Every glance, every shift in her posture screams tension. This is more than character acting, it's narrative setup. Salvor's restless movements foreshadow danger. They tell us she senses something the others don't, something hidden beneath the surface. And in Foundation, the character who senses danger first is often the one forced to face it head-on. The clue here is that Salvor may be walking toward a sacrifice or confrontation in episode 9, something hinted at but not revealed in the preview. Her unease is not random, it's the story preparing us for heartbreak, the door ajar. One of the most striking visual clues in the sneak peek is a door slightly open, light spilling through the crack. At first glance, it's simple set dressing. But Foundation doesn't waste shots like this. The door is a threshold, a line between safety and danger, ignorance and truth, hesitation and action. It foreshadows a moment in episode 9 where characters will have to cross that threshold, willingly or not. The symbolism is sharp. Once you step through, you are jumped in. Can't walk back. That door isn't just in the scene. In the episode's title, it tells us this chapter will be about crossing lines that cannot be uncrossed. The Empire's fragmented. Voices listen closely to the dialogue of the Cleons in the sneak peek. Their voices don't blend. In earlier episodes, they often spoke with a kind of eerie unity, different men, but the same tone, the same arrogance. In episode 9's preview, that unity is gone. Their words cut against each other, sharp and desperate. This is a hidden clue to the collapse of their dynasty. Their fragmentation in speech foreshadows their fragmentation in power. The dynasty isn't just politically weak, it's spiritually broken. Once a dynasty like the Cleons begins to fracture from within, no amount of cloning can save it. Their divided voices are telling us the future. Episode 9 may be the moment the Empire falls apart, not from rebellion, but from itself. Echoes of earlier episodes, the sneak peek doesn't exist in isolation. It echoes the past. One line of dialogue, in particular, where a character mentions choice, mirrors Gaal's words from an earlier season about destiny versus free will. This isn't an accident. Foundation often plants seeds seasons in advance, only to harvest them when the time is right. The echo here foreshadows that episode 9 will circle back to those core questions. Is the future predetermined, or can choice alter the plan? The clue is clear. Episode 9 will not only push characters to make choices, but reveal whether those choices matter, or whether psychohistory was right all along. Absences that speak louder than presences, another clue lies not in what we see, but in what we don't. The sneak peek carefully omits certain characters. Where is Brother Dawn? Where is Demerzel? Where are the secondary leaders whose fates could shift the balance? Their absence is itself a clue. Foundation loves to hide major reveals until the exact moment of impact. By leaving these characters out of the preview, the show is foreshadowing their importance in the actual episode. It's a classic narrative trick. Keep the audience focused on the visible tension while the real dagger waits off-screen. The clue here is chilling episode. 9 may unleash a hidden player whose arrival changes everything. The weight of the title? Jumped-in titles in Foundation are never random. Jumped-in carries layers of meaning, and the sneak peek quietly foreshadows them all. On one level, it's about initiation being forced into a role, a secret, a fight. On another, it's about inevitability being dragged into a current, too strong to resist. But there's a darker layer too. Jumped in can also refer to violence, to being attacked suddenly, to being tested through pain. The preview foreshadows that episode 9 won't just be about choices, it will be about trials. Every character will be tested, and some may not survive the initiation. The visual motif of light and shadow throughout the sneak peek. Light and shadow play across the characters in ways that feel deliberate. Hari often stands in soft, uncertain light. Gaal is split between shadow and brightness. Salver is often framed in harsher contrast, sharp shadows cutting across her, and the Cleons. Their rooms are drenched in artificial light, but it feels cold, sterile, untrustworthy. These visual motifs foreshadow the inner journeys of each character. Hari walks in uncertainty. Gaal straddles to destinies. Salver faces harsh, unforgiving truths. And the Empire hides behind false brightness, masking the darkness consuming them. The light itself becomes a prophecy of what's to come. The sense of countdown, perhaps the most chilling clue, isn't a word or an image, it's the rhythm of the scene. The way the sneak peek is edited feels like a countdown. Shots linger just long enough to make us uneasy, then cut away before giving answers. It feels like ticking, like pressure building, second by second. This isn't just style, it's foreshadowing. The episode is being set up as a timer running out. Something is coming, and once the clock strikes, everything will explode. Sense of countdown tells us episode 9 will be the spark that ignites the finale. The final warning. Hidden in plain sight, all these clues point toward one truth. Episode 9 is the breaking point. Hari's doubt, Gaal's shadowed face, Salver's unease, the Cleon's fractured voices, the door ajar. The absent characters, the rhythm of a countdown, each one foreshadows collapse. The sneak peek isn't just teasing the next episode. It's warning us that the finale will not be about small shifts or subtle betrayals. It will be about irreversible change. And that's the power of Foundation. It doesn't hand us answers. It gives us fragments, whispers, shadows, and dares us to put the pieces together. But no matter how carefully we watch, no matter how many clues we gather, the story always finds a way to surprise us. Because in the end, being jumped in means more than crossing a threshold. It means surrendering to chaos. And in episode 9, chaos is coming for everyone.